What's going on? JH here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're checking out the urFlamp V63-S, and that's S as in Spotlight, which is an important designation here because this light is also available with a floodlight version, and that's going to be V63F. And so you can pick this one up for $39.99, whether that's on the urFlamp website or on Amazon. I'll link to both options down in the description of the video. So again, we're going to be focused on the Spotlight version of the light, which is what we have in front of us today. The floodlight specs are a little bit different. The body's going to look identical, but the output is going to be a little bit different there. The difference between Spotlight and floodlight, if you're not familiar, is really in the name. A Spotlight is going to have this tight controlled beam that throws out at longer distances, and so this one goes all the way up to 663 meters in its turbo max output, so it's really going to get out there with that tight controlled beam. The floodlight's going to be a lot more spilly. The area around you is going to spill out with light and really flood that general area with light, which is why it's called a floodlight. So something to keep in mind if you're deciding between the two. Now we're going to be looking at a lot of flashlights on the channel this week, and each of them has some really unique feature about them. The unique feature about this one isn't that they have a Spotlight and a floodlight version. It's actually that you can use two different power sources. So it comes with an 18350. You can see it's a smaller battery, 1100 milliamp hour. Gets a lot of output out of this 18350. However, you can also use an 18650, which you can see is quite a bit longer. Now it doesn't ship with an 18650. This is one I already had, 3000 milliamp hour on this. And so there's a pretty significant difference in size. And so the way that works is there's a hidden extension tube here, and all you have to do is hold the main body of the flashlight, twist that tail cap, and you can see it extend. So with the 18350, we're looking at a body length of about 3.3 inches. It extends all the way out to 4.5 inches to allow for the 18650. Now for the purposes of this video, we're going to be focused on the 18350 since that's what it ships with, but I will do a beam shot with the 18650 because that's going to be where the main difference is in our turbo mode. So one of the interesting things about allowing for that larger battery is most of our modes, our eco, our low, medium, high, the output's going to remain exactly the same. They're just going to have a longer runtime. But with our turbo, which is 1500 lumens with the 18350, that's going to jump up to 2000 lumens with the 18650. And so if you need that extra output in your turbo mode, you can jump up to the 18650. Obviously you're sacrificing that compact size, but you're getting that higher output not only in your turbo, but in your SOS and your strobe modes as well. So the other modes will remain the same with a higher battery life, but you can get a higher output in your turbo and strobe mode. So really neat feature about this one. IP68 waterproof resistance, 1.5 meter drop rating, is USB-C rechargeable, and it does come with the USB-C cable, some extra O-rings, and a lanyard, obviously, and so that's a really nice feature there as well. And then one of the things I really like is the tail cap here. And so the tail cap, you can see it has kind of that tactical feel, so you can use that for a striker, especially when it's extended, would work pretty well for that. But you can see it's made to be able to mount onto tripods and tripod accessories. And so I have a lot of tripod accessories, so that's really nice for me. I think they do sell a magnetic tail cap you can swap out for this model if you prefer. But again, since I have a lot of different ones, it gives me options for things like this, where you can mount it directly here. You can have that spotlight shining up on a wall. I also have a flashlight mount for this particular tripod, and it works with any tripod mount really that can clamp onto here, and that will clamp on here as well. So if I wanted to mount it here and be pointing straight out, I have that option as well. So it gives me a lot of versatility for mounting that flashlight if I want it out of my hands and me using it for an extended period of time, which I definitely appreciate. Now I already mentioned the USB-C rechargeable. It does have that dust cover for the waterproof rating there. It's pretty easy to get in and out of that dust cover, which I appreciate. Sometimes those can be really difficult to get in and out of there, but this one has a nice lip that you can easily get under and then press back into place to make sure it maintains its waterproof resistance. Now the user interface on here is also super simple, which I always appreciate that it has a single click on mode, because sometimes I have flashlights where my wife will grab them and just like, I can't even figure out how to turn on this flashlight, which is always frustrating for. So I always like when it's just a single click to on. And this houses our low, medium, and high modes. Now keep in mind, if you get the floodlight version, the outputs are going to be different. And if you have that 18650, the run times are going to be different. But we're going to be going over it as if it has the 18350 in the Spotlight, because that's what we're looking at here. So single click to on is our low mode, which is 60 lumens. That's going to run for 6.4 hours. So nice mix of bright output with a decent runtime there. Holding the button while it's on will cycle to our medium mode, 220 lumens for 1.6 hours, and then holding it again goes to our high mode, which is 500 lumens for 1.1 hours. Holding it again from here will obviously take us back to low, and if we turn it off at any point in here, it does have that memory mode, so I turned it off in medium, it goes back on in medium. We can double click from either on or off to get to our turbo, so we're going to do it from on here. 1500 lumens here. It says it runs for about an hour, but it does definitely step down there. And so they don't list the step down, but it seems to step down to about the high mode of 500 lumens. So something to keep in mind, it's not going to stay in that 1500 lumens for the full hour. After, 90 seconds or so, it's going to start to drop down, and you'll see that gradually get dimmer until we're about to our high mode, and then it's going to run the rest of the time in that high mode. Again, if you have the 18650, that's going to be a 2000 lumen turbo. Now it does also have an eco mode, which is the equivalent of a moonlight mode on most flashlights, and so on the Spotlight version, you hold it for a second there and it goes into our eco mode. That's only half a lumen, but it runs for 220 hours, so you get that nice long runtime out of it. And again, even in the obviously moonlight mode, it has that tight controlled beam, so it's not going to be really floody, so it's not quite as efficient as some other moonlight modes for just you're finding something under the car seat or finding a keyhole, that sort of thing, unless you're directly beamed onto that. So something to keep in mind with that moonlight mode. I always like when it's a separate setting, since it's the setting that I typically avoid unless I'm really low on battery or something like that. I'll just use the low mode. That 60 lumens really doesn't destroy your night vision, and it has a long enough runtime that I'll be able to get it back on a charger before it's going to need it back, since it runs for 6.4 hours. Now there is a strobe mode and a SOS mode here as well, so if you are sensitive to flashing lights, skip ahead in the video for about 45 seconds, but we will be showing both of those off. Both are accessed by a triple click. And so here you can see our strobe mode. If I triple click again, it will go into our SOS mode. And so we have both of those that are equivalent to our turbo modes for that strobe. So 1500 lumens with the 18350 or 2000 with the 18650, and at least until the battery starts to deplete, and then it goes to about the high mode of 500 lumens or so. And then we do have a lockout mode as well. To access the lockout, you just hold that button for 2 seconds. It will flash to let you know that it's locked out. To unlock it, you actually have to triple click. So I think that's a little bit of a weird thing where they're not the same. I would prefer holding both for 3 seconds, both to unlock and to lock, or quadruple clicking, whatever the case may be, just so it's easier to remember than having 2 different settings, one for lock, one for unlock. I'm sure there's some sort of reason that they went with that, but otherwise I do prefer that those be identical. Nice styling on the flashlight. It's available in either black or I think there's a pink version as well, which looks pretty cool. It's kind of a black that fades to pink as it goes through the light, so that kind of has a cool effect to it as well if that's something you're into. I'm not sure of the price difference on that one. I actually didn't check the pricing on the pink version. That's it for this one though. Let me know what you think of this light down in the comments below. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or checking out some of my other content. All helps the channel out a ton. Again, I'll make sure to link to this in the description of the video. If you do choose to use those links, it helps the channel out at no additional cost to you. Always appreciate that as well. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a great one. Take care.